As Hillsdale claims, strength rejoices in the challenge. For Chester Marcol, a Polish immigrant who came to Hillsdale College and became one of the greatest kickers in football history, his challenges only propelled him to further strength.
The road that I've taken to today was many ups and downs and mountains sometimes mountains out of molehills, and just a really beautiful way of a journey, and sometimes a journey that was really tough.
Coming from Poland and arriving in America at age 15, a year after his father took his own life, Chester knew that he had to immediately rise to the challenge to provide for those he loved.
Because coming to the United States a year after my dad took his life, that was hard. Leaving all my friends behind, I was 15 and a half, because we came here April 16th, 1965, and that October I turned 16, so it was tough. And away from my soccer, and I was a great soccer player, the city that I lived in Poland, they wanted to keep me, they were going to take care of me and everything.
His exposure to football was non-existent, so it took John Rowan, a teacher in Imlay City, to introduce him to America's beautiful game.
John Rowan was my physical education teacher. So when the following September came, obviously classes started, and we were supposed to be doing something outside, but the weather wasn't not very nice, so we played soccer inside in the gym. With the volleyball, thank God, because there was a penalty kick, and I kicked it, and he didn't know I was a soccer player, and I just kicked that bugger as hard as I could, and went right by his head, and he turned around, and it hit him in the face, and bloody nose, and cotton, and I was scared. I didn't know what to think. But then they took out these footballs, and I went outside, and I was kicking 50, 60-yard field goals, kicking the ball off 70 yards, and they looked at me like I was some kind of second coming.
But far from embracing the game, Chester stood greatly opposed.
And I said, I'm not playing this barbaric sport. I'm not going to do that.
Yet, his opposition proved inconsequential, as the Imlay City Spartans heavily featured Chester.
When my senior year, I played every position, and wide receiver, defensive back, and I kicked, and I punted, and I ran kickoffs and punts back. So it was nice because I got to play the whole game.
These accomplishments caught the eye of the football coaches at Michigan State, but Chester's unique background added additional challenges for him.
Chester tried to get into Michigan State, was going to kick there, but they, for some reason, even though he was a foreign-born student, I think because he went to an American high school, they did not put him on the foreign track. They put him on foreign student track. They put him on a native student track, and his command of English at that point was not sufficient to be on that track, and so they rejected him. John Rowan, I believe, was familiar with the situation and went like, well, if this guy can kick at Michigan State and he can't get in, chances are Hillsdale could use him. And so he made that connection, and kind of the rest is history.
The rest certainly was history.
And I'm really happy that I went to Hillsdale because, you know, I was from small country, very naive, and came to Hillsdale College, very small school, very small community. I think if I went to Michigan State like I thought I was going to, it might have eaten me alive.
Chester made the most of this opportunity. He went to Hillsdale for a tryout and sealed his relationship with Frank Muddy Waters, the legendary coach who had made Hillsdale one of the best small college football teams in the country. Muddy, who went on to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 2000, became more than just a coach for Chester. He became a father.
Yeah, I mean, they talk about him being a lot of the guys I talk to talk about him being a presence in their lives long after they were no longer playing for him. I mean, he was definitely a guy who really cared about his players. You can see that testimony and just how much love and respect they have for him. And I really, I'm sure that with Chester, especially him being a foreign-born guy, him maybe not understanding everything about the U.S. system and lifestyle, even though he lived here for a little bit, that Muddy might have been a little more involved than he would have in this ordinary case.
On the field, Muddy trusted him enough to attempt a 62-yard field goal, a distance that had never been successfully attempted at either the college or professional level.
Yet, at the same time, out of all the years that I played at Hillsdale College, we had a winning record each and every year, so that was awesome. My freshman year, we were underdog to Northern Michigan by 43 points, and we won 10-7.
Yet, not content with simply showing off the Polish prince's leg from 62, Muddy sent Chester out for an attempt that was almost 3/4 of a football field away from the crossbar.
And I remember one game can't remember against who it was, but I had 2 field goals long enough from 65 yards that were way long but just barely wide, and the longest field goal I ever tried against St. Norbert's. I didn't understand that for a long time why I tried that, but Muddy just wanted to have showcased me 77 yards, and the referee told me that the ball went about 2 or 3 yards below the crossbar, because he says that kick went about 82 yards, and so, but to me that was no big deal, and I just did what I knew how to do it, and I was blessed with the talent. Somebody said, "There's O.J. Simpson." But the nice thing with O.J. Simpson was during the game, I had a lot of success, and I was interviewed on the sidelines, and he asked me about being in Hillsdale College and asked me if I was sad or sorry or if I wished I played for bigger school. And I said, well, Michigan State pursued me, but they quit. And because Michigan State tried to call me after my freshman year at Hillsdale, trying to get me to Michigan State, and I told them no. I said, under any circumstances, I'm going to stay at Hillsdale. So I went to Hillsdale and I got a scholarship, and that was it. And it worked out great, because Muddy Waters became very instrumental men in my life, period. I'm not just talking 4 years at Hillsdale College. A lot deeper than coach-player relationship. And the relationship at Hillsdale was just like so awesome and so normal, completely opposite of NFL. By the time I woke up, I said, geez, this is, after all, business. This is not like being at Hillsdale College or Imlay City playing football.
This blessing of talent meant that the entire NFL highly praised a player like Chester, no team more so than the Green Bay Packers. In 1971, the Green Bay Packers utilized 11 kickers in a season that they finished 4-8-2, wasting the final year of legendary quarterback Bart Starr's playing career. Teams hardly ever used a high draft pick on a kicker, but Chester Marcol was no ordinary kicker. The Packers took Chester in the second round of the draft, but that was the one team Chester did not want to play for. It had nothing to do with the way they played. It had everything to do with where they played.
Then I get a call from the Green Bay Packers, and maybe 15, 20 minutes prior to that, I got a call from Dallas Cowboys, because that's what I want to play for. Because it was warm, and this and that, and I want to play where it's warm. I played against St. Norbert's College near Green Bay, and trust me, that was the coldest game of my life. And I said, the last place I ever want to play is in Green Bay. But I was drafted pretty high, and I think there was 28 teams at that time, not 32, so I was a 6th pick in the second round.
In 1972, Chester showcased why he was the 34th overall pick, leading the league in scoring and securing the Rookie of the Year, the only kicker to ever win that award. Yet, despite these heights on the field, the path for Marcol did not prove to be smooth off the field.
Man, I found magic. I started drinking this and that, and I found magic, because it kind of took my thinking away, and this and that, and I just couldn't comprehend that, because I did drink, but I had choices then. But when I first took 2 pills, I went on a bus Told my friend David, I said, 20 minutes later, I had that euphoria, and I drank a beer and take 2 pain pills. I didn't know what the hell they were. They were Tylenol number 3, which is candy nowadays. But I had that euphoric recall, and I tapped my friend on the shoulder. I said, David, I want to feel like this all my life. So I do understand. I do understand what that means, and unfortunately, as time went on, then became a habit, then became necessity just to function.
Throughout the 1970s, Chester was having success on the field, but he was falling harder into a downward spiral of substance abuse. Eventually advancing into harder drugs, Chester's most famous NFL play came under the influence of cocaine. The play wasn't a field goal. It was a blocked kick in 1980 that Chester returned for a touchdown.
First time I ever used cocaine was like a week before. Small amounts, but I did, right? So I snorted a little bit before the game and at halftime. So I had it in my system. I wasn't high, goofy high or anything, not knowing what the heck is going on. But I was high. Plus I was doing pain pills and cocaine and this and that.
As the cocaine habit progressed, Chester's habit overcame his talent, and he was cut from the Packers later in 1980. Playing one more game with the Houston Oilers against the Packers, Chester retired from the league later that year. For Chester, the road to recovery started back in Hillsdale. When Chester left the school for the NFL in 1972, he was still a few credits short of his degree. So, in 1982, with Chester now out of football, he returned to Hillsdale. Jack McAvoy, the newly hired athletic director, who had been the head football coach at Hillsdale after Muddy left for a new job at Saginaw Valley State, decided to bring Chester back to campus to allow him to finish his degree.
So I think Chester was kind of one of those where it was like, how do we do right by this guy who had done so much for Hillsdale and had left a legacy here. And I know that was something that was always in the forefront of his mind.
So in 1982, I went back, and Jack McAvoy set my classes up, and then 4-hour kinesiology course in the summertime. So in 82, I actually did graduate, and Hillsdale and Jack set everything up for me. So that was really, really great. And I never believed I was going to need my college diploma for anything, and when I was like almost 60 years old, I needed to certify for what I'm doing right now, and because I have a college degree, they give me 2,000 hours towards my certification. So after all, I did have to use my diploma.
Living in the same dorm he lived in when he went to college for the first time, Chester received his diploma from Hillsdale in 1982.
The nice thing was, when I went back to Hillsdale College, my freshman year I stayed at Galloway Hall. I don't even know if that exists anymore or not. But when I went back, that's where I stayed, at Galloway Hall. I was 31 years old, staying with this 19-year-old guy that spoke like 4 languages, and he was so funny. He gets drunk and just gibber in every single language. And
through the years, Chester continued to struggle with his substance abuse. Yet, he finally got his demons under control. Now, nearly 50 years after falling out of the league due to his substance abuse problems, he lives in the Michigan's Upper Peninsula and works as a counselor for those who know the same vice. Chester Marcol hasn't been on Hillsdale's campus since he left with his degree in 1982. Yet, despite this long gap, he still holds a piece of Hillsdale in his heart.
My ultimate dream was, but I never pursued it. I wanted to speak at one of the athletic banquets, But I don't know. I don't have an agent. Because I never solicit myself to anybody. But that would be fun.